Hi guys, and welcome to my first video, or almost my first video, but my first speed build video for the WoW Midnight Beta housing test. And in this video I will be building a barn for the plot 52 in the Founder's Point. It is a little barn kinda plot, sorry, not a barn, but a farm, where you can see there are some cows out there right next to it, and you can kind of build all the way up to the fence, so it would look like they have access to the area. And that is where I got the inspiration that I kind of wanted to make this housing for the cows, not just for the people. This is a only exterior build for this new channel, which is called the Builders Guild. And I hope you all will enjoy this video and me explaining what I'm doing here. So first I started off like seeing how big I wanted the entrance to be for the cows, and that's why I placed all the beams down and all the platforms, and I've kind of resized them. I think the most of them is like 150, and I put them all to the side so I can see and visualize how many pieces I might need. This is a method I use a lot when I want to build things, is I place down a couple of things to see the palette and see, you know, to gain some more inspiration. And like I put down a lot of tents here to see like how will I make this roof, because obviously I can't place the other, like a lot of the wooden like curved platforms, simply because we do not have the space for it in the units you can use. So I figured out this tent is the closest that I can get with the tools that I have right now, and I really hope Blizzard adds curved like pillars of like roofing parts or something, so people can actually build the outdoor houses, or else I think a lot of the builds will look very simple. And here I experimented if I wanted it to be kind of triangular, but I think I wanted to create the illusion as much as possible to make it the round top, and I ended up only going with that. Again, I'm placing down the beams here, and I'm placing down the platforms, sizing them up to the right sizes and putting them to the right sizes. A little tip for when you want to rotate things is if you hold shift in, it will kind of go per 10 or 15, so you can get into the right angle and make everything fit a lot more, so you don't have to struggle with the minor details. And if you click the little square, you can actually move the whole thing on the axis that you're already on to the side freely. So it's really easy to get things into size. You can actually also just touch like drag the thing without having the little square, and you can do the same but for smaller things where they're harder to grab. The little square will help you, because then you don't click the other things by accident. I'm almost having all of the pieces of the barn down here, and I took a look on the other house and I placed it closer to figure out where it was. And I didn't know if I wanted it to be all the way up until the barn as an extension, or if I wanted some a little gap in between. So I started having it closer, and I think I made a gap, but I in the end ended up having them closer in the end. But here's just so I can get some freedom to see the barn, and I'm putting down the wall sides of the building, so I know exactly where everything will go. I'm rotating them, putting up to the real size. I think the 150 again is the good size, but I know at this point I also do want to create a door somewhere, so you will see that the first door I go with is kind of the wrong door, because I've forgotten that there's actually doors you can use. You can place some of the indoor doors outside, but you cannot place windows outside, which is also a shame. So I'm using doors to make both windows and, well, doors. I've said doors a lot in this video now, so I'll just get back to the wall. To create some variety in the wood texture, so it's not all the same, I've used the Orgrimmar beams here. They're a bit darker. I don't know, I think they should add hues to all the wooden beams so you can kind of create different hues, because we already do have the brown dye, for example, as you'll see later also when I'm using it, where you can actually recolor a lot of things. I think they should really give us a lot of freedom with that, because it would just give everything more like versatility, especially with, for example, the tent roofing that I have here. If I had a possibility to make that like a wooden color or make it dark brown, it would have been so much better to create this illusion that it's a barn and it's a part of the roof, because now it is obvious that it is a tent. Here I'm resizing everything down to fit the beams that I've created, so there's no gaps, and that is the final um, like resizing that I'll be doing at that point. Here you can see that I am experimenting with how to create the door, and I found this little fence post, and not fence post, this arch, and I had an idea that I wanted to put this arch in, and then that would be like an opening for the people like me, the farmer, to go in. But there's a lot of gaps on the sides, so I wanted to use some pillars to cut off those gaps and resize them. All of this in the end I do end up almost changing, because I do find the door piece, but I kept this in the video just so you can see my train of thought and even just get some inspiration for, you know, how to add these things yourself, and also to see how truly just adding different wood textures can add some variety to your builds, so they do look a lot different. And here you can see me putting in the, it is also one of these flower walls, like these walls where you can put like flowers in between, they can grow in between, and it would also look good. But it's just a plain one. But this is the one I wanted to use as a door. Again, I had really forgotten that there were doors in this game. My train of thought here was that I needed some fencing. I didn't know how I wanted to do it first. If I wanted to create like small stalls or like a big open space for the cows. So I ended up first checking out how it would look like if I made it so they would be, you know, in a little cage. But then I looked at the cows and I thought, you know, not one cow will fit in there. So I ended up creating this other open space instead. So they would have more space here. And then I wanted to figure out how to actually make a bedding for them, you know, where they will be standing. And I compared these two grass, and I ended up going with the leaves. Actually, I can give you a little tip here, because what I did was I turned them around, because then they have a bigger area of leaves covers, and then I sized them up, and this way I didn't need to use that much to actually cover the whole floor with the leaves. And I personally think myself that it ended up looking really, really good. So this is kind of creating this illusion that this is hay or bedding or something for the cows to sleep on. Here I'm putting down some of these, I think they're night elven sinks, and to make like a trove, I think it's called in English. And you can see I'm placing it down so the cows will have something to drink, and I will also be adding something for them to eat from later. Here I'm deciding that I'm actually just gonna pull the house all the way in and not have any space in between, because I think that looks a lot better. And I wanted to add some dimensions, so I'm experimenting with what towers I think would look best with the barn next to it. I ended up going with this brown roof simple tower, but I didn't like the way it transitioned between the tent and the tower. So at some point you will see me adding something just to fill that in. Here I'm adding some pathing. These are some of the orc armor kind of style, the orc horde pathing ways. You can buy them down by the smugglers in Founders Point, at least if you're Alliance. And first I want to figure out how they would look best, so I tried turning them around, but I just think they were lacking a lot of texture, because I did enjoy the little texture that the other path had. And I tried to see how it would look like with other colors, because these are actually paintable, but it didn't feel right in this build at least. So I ended up just going with the normal coloring and having them turned the right way. Here I'm kind of experimenting how to make the door brown, and as you can see, the new, you know, I'm really getting used to the new system, so I'm feeling a lot in the start until I'm getting the right color, putting the path back, and I'm thinking about adding some more clutter to just add some space and dimension. So here I'm kind of looking at like what should I add, but I didn't add it yet. So here is the food throw that I spoke about, only the best for my cows. So they're getting these Suramar berries, I think they are, or something. Arc wine maybe, I don't know. They will enjoy it at least. I wanted to create the illusion of a window, and that's when I found this closet, but I actually end up using this as a door inside, which is closed, which is like a backway door. So I put it into the wall to kind of make it look like it's a door. This is the thing that I used to hide that little space in between. I had this thought that maybe it would be like a silo or something, because it did have that big like look of it being able to be a silo, and I placed it just in between up against my house, so it's kind of like an extension to my house also, just for the clutter around the area, because this was a lot of empty space and I didn't just only want to focus on building the barn. I made a little well over here, so this is essentially where we will be getting the water from for the cows, or just a little cozy area. So I've chose in this build, I've been choose to only go with this more like rustic look. So a lot of the things that I'll be using will not be the pretty ones, it will be more the wooden rustic ones. I'm adding down some trees, comparing how it will look like, and here I'm comparing which one of the wells I like the best, and I ended up using the Gilnean one. I think this is sizing it up to a nice size and putting it down so it is actually accessible, adding some clutter around it. Here's some wicker baskets. I had this thing, like, thought that maybe the tree, like this is an apple tree above, I could pick up some apples also or something and add some foliage and clutter. This is really me cluttering a lot and adding just like things to fill out the empty spaces so it just doesn't look so tame. And keep in mind, it is very restricting what you can use in the beta, because or you only have these 200 units, and some things cost 1, 3 or 5 units, and it really is a struggle to figure out what's the best use. So sometimes I will delete things to get 5 more points to create something that means a bit more to me. But I put down the barrels, I'm adding some foliage here. At least you can size things up to fill in a bit more. This tree I lowered a bit just because I wanted the leaves to be down lower and fill in the space. Same thing here, I sometimes make things bigger and put them down in the ground. That way a bush can fast become like green foliage or something. So that's what I did. Here I'm thinking about creating another path and putting it down so you can kind of see where you're supposed to be walking in the house and everywhere. Here I'm adding a window because I felt like adding a window, but I really wanted to create some more light because this window does give off some light. And figuring out what I needed to do. This part I was very torn about because, again, I want to have a chimney also, or something to add a little bit more life to the house. I think it's a really minimal like selection we have of these kind of like house add-ons, and this is really something I think they should focus on building a lot more of. But I chose these 2 extra windows to give it more depth, and I do also end up making a chimney all the way to the right that doesn't clip in too much with everything else, because I think some things looks fine when you clutter and they clip in, but again, it really is in moderation. I've seen some houses where there's just the house is full, each one of these spots is full with something, and if that is what people like, that is so fine. But personally, my taste is keeping it as neat as possible. And as you can see here, I'm putting down the chimney that I liked. This is when I want to create the window and I realized, wait, these are doors. Why don't I just put one of these doors in here instead? And secondly, I will save a lot of space, but also it will look so much better. I do end up using the same 2 building pieces, the one with the vines and the other one somewhere else, just to add some more clutter. But here I'm adding the door, and this brings me to another point of something I think is really sad, is once I'm finished placing these into the side here to just add some more depth, is that you will realize that a lot of things can be dyed, but a lot of things cannot be dyed, and I really think it should be versatile. I think you need to be able to dye so much more, because this is a wooden door with metal. Why can we not dye wood like we can dye this? And I think it's especially like there are some night elven things that is like a night elven tent you can dye, but then you can't dye this green tent that I'm using as a roof. I just think it's a bit sad. This window I had an idea, no, this door I had an idea that I would make it kind of warm color inside to give an illusion of that is a window to the barn. Of course there's no light inside the barn because you can't place lights outside, but if I could, I would also place a light inside the barn to really add that depth. And continuing the clutter, I wanted to add all the pieces possible, all the units. I really have this saying that it's like you need to use all 200 or you're not building a proper build. If there's still some gaps, add a tree, add some grass, add anything, or it is a waste. And I thought that this pillow actually looked like grain. I think it's a Pandaren pillow or something. And I was like, hey, this would look kind of cute. Imagine like that just was a delivery to my farm with these barrels of, I don't know, maybe milk for my cows. If they don't give, I have no idea. But then again, the green, which I thought looked really cute, and I'm kind of thinking, how do I make this window not look so stupid? And sometimes the simple solution is just the one that is the cheapest also. So I added these wooden beams. The second one struggled a bit for some reason to be put on the right size, so I had to put it and then manually actually rotate it for some reason. Again, this is beta and it's early build, so it might not all be perfect, but then I kind of liked that it was a bit wonky and not perfect, so I kept that in just to not make everything too symmetrical. Now I was looking at my house figuring out what do I need, because I still had a lot of units to use, so I was going inside the barn and want to add a bit more depth in here for the cows to actually enjoy and just make everything look a bit bigger. This is what I'm saying, if you have units left over, look somewhere else and just add something. So I added a bit more depth to the side of the wall so it wasn't too open, and then I was figuring out like how would I fill this big empty space. So I put a window down. Again, I used the beams to give the depth, and then I went in and added a tree to the side just to fill in this huge empty space, and I'm just comparing which trees I liked. This is the one I went for. Made it as big as possible because there was a lot of empty space. This is again where I think it's a bit sad that we only had 200 units, because if you build something like this very compact, there's just not enough space to fill out anything else, and it's sad. But here I was looking at this bell that I thought was cute. Like I could imagine like you're ringing the cows for dinner or something, and a bit sad that it had these two beams on the side. So in the end I figured out that I would just place it there and put it out a bit, and that's what would look the best for this little area. Looking on the inside, on the fencing, I was realizing that it was floating and I had to change that around a bit. So I ended up making the fences on one side and then kind of pretending that one of the fences is like a gate. So I opened it up a bit, so you can imagine you can open it up and walk inside. I did want also to do this on the opposite side, so that way I would want to make it look like it was open, because since the cows were outside right now. But again, it really is about saving pieces where you can in the end, because sometimes you do need each piece to add some clutter. And that's what I was looking at right now. I thought this space right here looked a bit empty, and I had no idea what I wanted to place. And I was like, do I want to make a chicken coop? Do I want to make an outhouse? And I remember that I saw on the WoW Kia Discord that they created these pumpkins using these pillows, making them orange. So I wanted to use this ability, no, but like this little tip, to make some pumpkins, because it is a farm, and I could imagine that again it is just to add clutter. I had no idea where I want to place them, but then I was like, what if I place them over here on something like a wheelbarrow or something? And then I remembered they had this big wheelbarrow, actually this big cart, and that's the one I ended up placing. And here I'm looking and comparing all the carts figure out which one I like the most, and I went for the big, normal, human-looking one. And this is a struggle. We can see there's no more space. You have no more to build with, so I just ended up deleting one thing because this meant a lot more. Placing it down, putting all the pumpkins inside of this cart, so it will fill it out a bit more. And one thing that bothered me a lot here was that, as you can see, I have one unit left, and I will literally add one thing, just one simple little thing to use each of those 200 units, which again, Blizzard, if someone from Blizzard magically sees this video, which I really doubt, please fight for the units to become even bigger, because this is not enough. Maybe in the video I haven't showed it that I'm putting in the last unit, but I remember to put some, like a piece of flower down somewhere, like a little grass. But enjoy this build and have a look at what I made. And thank you for watching this video if you made it this far.